Hello, once again from my dimly lit, dank basement work area. Hello, friends, vinyl community, whoever's watching. Hey, just to do a little update. I know I don't do a whole lot of videos anymore, not as many as I used to because of things happening, which I won't go into, but thought I'd just do a little update of some recent finds and as usual, it's all bargain bin cheap stuff for the most part. This is my splurge this time. Scott Walker, 5 classic albums. And if you had seen one of my recent videos, or one of the past videos anyway, I had spoken about how I had found a Scott Walker album at the Salvation Army for a quarter, and how it just completely blew me away listening to it, and also discovering the same day that Scott Walker had just died a few days before I found that album. And that just blew my mind. So researching, looking for copies of albums I cannot afford. Even the reissues are way too expensive for me. But I did find this little import CD set, 5 CD set. It's got Scott's first 4 solo albums, and then it's got, like, I guess it's a compilation of various tracks. But man, this cost about, I had to save up a little money. It cost about $18 with shipping, so it's a good bargain. But I haven't gone all the way through it yet. I just got it yesterday. But for those that aren't familiar with Scott Walker, a tremendous vocal talent, very interesting life. There's a documentary online, look it up, it's called 30th Century Man. A lot of this is late 60s pop, kind of international pop sounds, which, that was a big thing for the time period, particularly in Europe and in England. But what really stands out are some of his original songs, some of his lyrical content, his experimentation with forms and arrangements. It can go from, like I said, European British pop to exquisitely beautiful, poetic pieces of musical art. I mean, some of the lyrics are very Dada-esque. But hey, Scott Walker, check him out. All right. Now next I've got a stack here. These are all my thrift store bargain bin finds. The most I paid for any of these is $5. The majority of them, as usual, 25-cent bin from the Salvation Army, 50-cent bins from the Goodwill, and I've got a few from the YMCA thrift store, which are usually 50 cents to $2. And I've got a few that I've gotten from some of the local record stores from the $3 and $5 bins. But let's just get on to it here. Like I said, typical thrift store stuff, but I love this stuff. Look here. Mercury Stereo presents Bill Kinney Sings the Golden Hits of the Ink Spots. Alright, kind of watching the glare there. Now, why? This is like, man, this album is in pristine shape. It's got the original clean inner sleeve. Plus, it's a white label promo. I mean, how cool is that? So I was real tickled to find that. Just for the sake of it, All right, here's another 25-cent find. Joanne Castle, Accordion and Hi-Fi. And this is another one that I remember from my youth. My dad had this album. And this copy is I mean, it's in excellent VG Plus condition. This is one I got for $1. Looked pretty interesting. It's RCA custom label. I know that there are like the Living Stereo, the Dynagroove, Dynaflex, but one reason I got this also is it had a very unusual label. Look at that label, RCA custom label. I think this record was probably from like 1957. Yeah, 1957. Excellent shape, you know, just typical schmaltzy instrumental music from the mid-50s, but I love that kind of stuff. All right, here's some sort of jazz-oriented things that I found really, really cheap. This is Brooks Arthur Ensemble, Soul Forms, and this is on the Verve label. And this is sort of jazzy instrumental versions of classical pieces. We've got music from Beethoven. We've also got some pop music like Stardust, Moon River. Very interesting album, you know, not bad for 50 cents. And here's another $1 album. This is called Meet Me in Chicago, Jimmy McPartland and Art Hodes. Pretty interesting cover too. It's like, if you look at that, it's kind of like it would. I don't think a cover like this would get by today, but I guess back in the 50s when this came out, that was pretty standard stuff. But this is a pretty interesting album, kind of Chicago swing jazz. Really a cool album, great shape. There's a nice 50-cent find. Duke's Big Four. Some nice arrangements by Duke Ellington with got Joe Pass on guitar, Ray Brown, Louis Bellson on drums. Great jazz album here. I love this. And this is a neat one too. Jonah Jones, Muted Jazz. Never heard of this artist or whatever, but this is a Capitol record. This is I'm sure a 50s. But hey, this is some really cool horn jazz on this. Jonah Jones. Sorry, not Nora. There's a long way between Nora and Jonah. Okay, so. All right, and this. Oh, I saw this one for $1. Eric Dolphy, Fire Waltz. The 2 LP set on the Prestige label. I mean, this record is VG Plus. Awesome. I've been digging some Eric Dolphy lately, and I found this, and I was just blown away. What can you say, man? All right. Now we're getting this. This is an interesting one too. Kind of big band jazz. This is Yakety Yak, the Lieber Stoller Big Band. Okay, and Lieber Stoller was a famous songwriting duo, but this apparently they had produced this album of instrumental versions of a lot of their hit songs that they'd written, and I kind of like this sort of. I don't know if you can see that very well, but this kind of a tongue-in-cheek. This, you know, the name of the album is Yakety Yak, and there's Lieber and Stoller standing with a yak. Yeah, this is a fantastic album. Fantastic album. All right, getting into some of the schmaltzy stuff here. The Johnny Mann Singers. I found a couple of these for $1 a piece. And these are actually pretty good. You know, mid-60s vocal pop. Neon Rainbow, Love Is Blue. You know, what is this? Monday, Monday, Up, Up and Away. I really like these. These a lot, you know. So. they're keepers for me. And this was a neat one too. In the 50-cent bin. Lou Rawls, Tobacco Road, with the Onzie Matthews Orchestra. And man, this is kind of some soulful renditions of Stormy Weather, Tobacco Road, Georgia on My Mind, Summertime. It's a killer album. Lou Rawls, man, he was on top of his game here too. All right, now we're getting to the good stuff. Well, I think it's the good stuff anyway. Bill Justice plays 12 big instrumental hits. Man, this is a cool record too. Alley Cat, Green Onions, Take 5, The Stripper, Calcutta, and it's in excellent shape too. It's on the Smash label. And this, 50 cents. Surfing with the Astronauts. Man, RCA stereo. This album, my goodness. I love this. I love this, man. I've always loved surf instrumental music. It's not all instrumental. They do some vocal stuff on here too. Do some Chuck Berry, some Beach Boys. But man, if you love that surf, twangy, echo-drenched guitar from the early 60s, this is a cool record, man. Astronauts. There's a lot of this stuff online. Look it up, man. Love it. Had to do a little edit right there. I had a brain fart. But anyway, found some really cool Ventures stuff here. Walk, Don't Run, the very first Ventures LP. And I had already had a copy of this, but the copy I had was actually cracked, scratched up. It was unplayable. So when I found this for 50 cents, an original OG, Walk, Don't Run that was in VG condition, man, I'm just stoked. Love this stuff here. And then there were some more Ventures. There's Ventures A Go-Go. These were all 50 cents a piece. Original. Oh, geez. And here's a cool one too. Go. And this was a cool. I love that cover. Kind of a Sergeant Pepper's era Ventures wearing their little military outfits. This is a great album too. The Horse. All right, now we're getting otherworldly here. All right, this. Caldera, a Moog Mass. And I'm not really sure, I don't know if Caldera was the name of the band or what. It's called Stabat Mater. It's basically English translations of a Latin Mass performed with an early form of vocoder with a Moog synthesizer augmented with cello and harpsichord. And this is one strange album. I love it. And this was $1 at the YMCA. And wow, something else. Here's a couple I found at my son's store in the bargain bin. Booker T and the MGs, Soul Dressing. Classic Booker T and the MGs. This is kind of a G+, VG-, but plays all the way through and still very enjoyable. Now this right here is freaking awesome. James Brown, Grits and Soul, and this is an instrumental album. It's not really funk. This is more jazzy R&B or R&B tinged jazz, however you want to say it, but with basically JB, James Brown doing the Hammond organ with his band, just really jazzing up some of these arrangements. Man, this was a killer find too. And once again, it's kind of a G+, VG-. Plays all the way through, no skips, but still very enjoyable. Man, what a record. I highly recommend finding this. Hopefully one day I can find a little cleaner copy. Now here's a nice one here, Classics 5. I think this was another quarter 25-cent record. Mamas and Papas and Soul Train. I've had several Classics 4 albums, and I kind of like this one the best. This one's got a little bit more, not quite garagey, but it's, for me, it's kind of the sound that I like better from the 60s. Some of the later albums, they started getting a little more poppy, I suppose. This one's still got a good kind of a rocky, at times almost kind of a garagey sound. I really dig this. And here's a nice one too. Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes. This is a compilation on Mainstream of tunes from the first 3 Amboy Dukes albums. And this cover, you know, Ted with snakes in his hair. This is all from the era of Journey to the Center of the Mind and Migrations by the Amboy Dukes. I kind of wish it would have had Journey to the Center of the Mind included, but all the songs still have that sound. They have that fuzzy sound and the same type of vocals with the really nice organ sounds and stuff. So this is a cool album. Yeah, I think I got it for, I think it was like in the $3 bin. A couple more 25-cent records from the Salvation Army. Simon & Garfunkel's Greatest Hits. VG Plus copy of this. Can't beat that. And this one, I was really, really happy to find a copy of this. Bookends, my favorite Simon & Garfunkel album. Now, I'd had a copy of this for probably 40 years. But it was actually a reissue that I got back in the mid-70s. But this one was it's an OG VG Plus copy. Includes the poster for a quarter. It's like, thank you, the lords of vinyl. All right, let's see here. A couple more 50-cent records. A couple of Four Seasons, Gold Vault of Hits and Vault of Golden Hits Volume 2. Everything that you'd really want to hear from the Four Seasons on here, you know, from their 60s stuff. Another greatest hits I found. This is a British import. Harry Nilsson's Greatest Hits. Once again, anything that you really want to listen to from Harry Nilsson. Coconut, Everybody's Talking, 1941, Me and My Arrow, Spaceman, Without You, Without Her. You know, it's got All I Think About Is You, some of his pop standard stuff that he did with the orchestra. Great album. And finally, for the prog fans out there, this is Safety in Numbers by Crack the Sky. I really love this album. I've had several Crack the Sky albums over the years. Good progressive 70s rock. Highly recommend these if you're into that kind of thing. So, there it is, just a little synopsis of some of the stuff I've been getting into, diving through the bins lately. Hope that's okay. You know, to me, sometimes I'm thinking it's not really the records as it is as much the cleaning ritual. I don't know if you've ever studied this Zen meditation, particularly in the arts. They have this thing for the Japanese and Chinese painting where they use rice paper, and there's a whole meditative process where they get the little bar of ink in a grinder, and they grind it into a little container of water, and they grind it, meditating on the art all the time that they're grinding, until the ink in the water gets to the consistency that they require. Then they use their little paint brushes and paint on rice paper. And traditionally, rice paper is very absorbent. So another art form is they have to paint very quickly and precisely, or otherwise the rice paper absorbs the ink and has a big blot on it, so. But to me, it's like cleaning the records is almost the same thing, because, mixing the chemicals, the water, putting the record on my little turntable and applying the cleaning, putting it, just brushing it ever so easily, and using my record vacuum to clean it off and letting it dry, and then all the time contemplating and hoping that the vinyl is going to sound great. And sometimes it does, and sometimes you're disappointed, but that's life. So I've said enough for this go round. So, anyway, thanks, peace, until next time.